Welcome to another episode of Square Table Conversations, where we talk about topics that matter and give you our take on the topic. And in today's video, we're going to talk about our local languages really fading.
So I think nowadays we see that there are few dominant languages which are taking over some local languages. Language is not just it's not just a medium of communication. It actually holds a lot of knowledge. There are a lot of literature. There's a lot of culture that is connected with that language. And if we forget our local languages and we start using those dominant languages, a lot of culture, a lot of literature will be gone. So first let's discuss about what are the reasons that these local languages are fading.
Yeah, so what I think is that it starts from the foundation. Like when kids go to school and they go back home in the evening, many parents, what I've seen in my circle is that they just encourage their kids to talk in English even after coming back home from school. So what happens is in school, obviously, like to improve your communication skills and to get a job and everything, you are trained to speak in English. But even after you go home, if you keep continuing in the same language, in the long term, you'll start feeling like, why should I even learn my mother tongue or my own regional language? My like whatever I need to do or however I need to communicate, it's happening in another language. So that will become the dominant language, and you will slowly forget your regional language. And obviously, that language will help you wherever you go. Like you move to another state or some other country, you'll always have that language. So you will not learn your regional language. So that is one of the reasons, I guess.
Another reason I feel is this urbanization. People are moving to these few cities,
Yeah.
and what happens is, since it's becoming a metropolitan or a cosmopolitan city, like Bangalore is where you don't only find people who speak Kannada, but there are people who speak a lot of other languages. And what is happening, since there are few dominant languages, they expect us to leave our local languages and start speaking whichever is common for communication. But if we should respect those other languages, obviously, because it'll help us communicate with others. But what is happening is we're forgetting about our roots. People are becoming more comfortable with that other language, and we don't speak, we don't give importance to our local languages. So in that way, the future generation will lose out on a lot of uh, they'll forget about our language, they'll forget about our culture, and they'll start to imbibe the whatever is the normal culture everywhere. I think this has not only happened in Bangalore, it's happened in so many other cities. You see, each and every place will have its own local language and culture. But there is obviously it has been dominated by other languages over a period of time, and those local languages are vanishing. We shouldn't let it happen to other languages. I'm not only talking about Kannada and in Karnataka. There's actually Tulu, Konkani, the Kodava language. All of those needs to be conserved. We need to ensure that we can talk in that language. We know about that language at our homes, but outside we need to respect the other languages which we use for communication.
Mm.
So I feel urbanization is another reason why local languages are fading.
I think another reason is also in schools, if you see these days, it's a lot of foreign languages are being taught, and even though yes, that's a good thing that yes, foreign languages are being taught from such a young age and kids get to learn that, but I feel like we're losing track of our local languages.
Like people have made English to be such a
The inferior, they have that inferiority.
inferiority complex. If anybody
Hmm.
doesn't know English, they just go about saying that it's the most dominant language. You
Yeah.
need to know it,
Same
and
with Hindi
people just
also.
develop that inferiority complex, and it happens to every language. If you're not good at any language,
Hmm.
you just tend to lose
Yeah.
learning about it, or you lose interest in the language itself. So
And I think not knowing English is kind of considered as not educated or something like that,
yes,
even though that's not
yeah,
the case.
And English was never meant to be a language. It's not anybody's mother tongue that you are supposed to know it. I mean, that culture is anyway gone. Like, if you were just like, you should know your mother tongue, you should have just gone about saying that to preserve your language. Like, everybody would have known their mother tongue had everybody said, you should learn your mother tongue. If that was made a thing, then everybody would have known their local languages as well. Instead of making giving English that status, give that to your local languages. When you are in a location, in a geological location where one of the languages is very popular, make that language the priority. And then the official language of obviously can be English, because it's it's for the ease of communication. That's all. It's not a language that should be known, and there shouldn't be that taboo culture for anybody who doesn't know the language.
So I think another issue which we see these days in school is that a lot of emphasis is given on foreign languages than the local languages. So it's more easier for a kid to learn a new language in those growing stages than later on when after they become adults. So I think what could be done is the local languages could be made as a compulsory language, at least for a third language, so kids learn the basics right there in school in their developing stages. And I think this is seen more in like in state government schools. I don't think this is a problem because the syllabus is from the state government itself, and the language would not be an issue there. But if you look at maybe schools which are central government based, I think those kids don't really have much exposure to the local language, and I think it would be very beneficial if it's made as a compulsory rule to study at least as a third language, and this would bring about some change for sure.
Now that we've discussed about, why our local languages are fading away, what do you think we can do to preserve it?
Yeah, so I think India is like divided when it comes to languages, because even like um, when people move in India itself, some people are really like intolerant towards the language that is local over there. They're like, why should I learn this language? Why can't speak people just talk in my language here? Why can't people just make me understand what they're saying? Why should I learn their language? But I think it's very obvious that when you're moving to another place, majority of the people over there will be speaking the local language. So it is your duty to learn the language that is there. And I think if people are moving for work purposes and they are planning to stay there for a longer time, it's better for them to learn the local language.
I think one of what some companies can also bring is start languages in companies, as in talk the local languages, because if you're doing business in the state, you should know the language that your customers know. You can't just pass on the say you're on a call with one of your customers who is fluent in the local language, and just because you've come from a different place and you don't know the language, you're not putting in the effort, you just pass on the call to somebody else. How professional does that look? So why don't companies also push for their employees to learn a little bit of local languages, just enough to make, I mean, do their business, their
Just
daily
yeah,
business.
just enough to respect it
Yeah.
and just communicate a little bit in that.
We just ask
manage.
for the bare minimum.
Yeah.
That's all. You don't have to do everything.
Yeah, I think that really makes sense. Like, for example, if someone is going abroad from here, they make it a point to learn that local language that they're
Exactly.
going to talk there.
Correct.
But when it comes to someone moving from one state to another or one city to another, they don't make that a point. They just think, okay, let's just manage with one common language that I know.
Yeah, I think the
So-
visa processing itself
Yeah,
needs
yes.
for you to learn
It's a
the
mandatory
language,
thing
yes.
that they have to learn
Yeah.
that language.
You have to at least know the level one. I
Yeah.
think Germany has
Yes,
that.
they have
You
that.
have to learn the first
Yeah.
level of German, and only then you're allowed.
Yeah.
So why not do that for states?
So, and what is happening is, even we usually consider as North India speaking Hindi, and South India there are these 4 5 languages which they're trying to preserve or something like that. But actually, in North India also, it's not that everyone's mother tongue is Hindi. They actually have their own local languages,
Yeah.
which have actually faded away because everyone has adopted Hindi to be the convenient language. Everyone starts speaking Hindi, but their culture is the, for example, some I've heard of this language called Awadhi, which was which is almost faded now, and people have just started speaking Hindi instead of it. But in South India, I think we're trying to preserve it, and that's trying. I think we're coming out as very aggressive
Or extremist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is not the point. We're just
we are
trying.
not ready to let go of our culture.
Yeah.
And that's coming back at us.
Yeah, we do respect their language, culture. It's okay for the, like, we don't mind them speaking in Hindi, but when you're talking to us, or when you're talking in 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 a social setup, it's important that they also try to respect our language, try to learn, put in some efforts to learn our language, because I feel we'll know Hindi, but we're not comfortable
Yes.
speaking in that language. So if they also put in effort and respect our language, I think we'll have a more harmonious society, instead of all these extremist fights that we have.
Yeah.
Like you spoke about movies and all that. So previously it was like it's like only Bollywood and other South Indian movies or regional movies. Now it's like uh, movies are being made in all languages, so that even others can watch the same movie in their own language. So that means people like South Indian actors are getting popular in North India, and North Indians also know them now, and all that. So language is that important. Uh, if there are movies and songs in all the languages, I think for those depleting languages also, if people start taking initiatives to make movies or some kind of entertainment in that language, then it can be preserved.
I think the basics of knowing or at least understanding the language is that you make your person or the person that you're conversing with, you make them comfortable talking to you. And they just don't go about, attacking you. Like, you can't even get your business done, firstly. And one more thing is, they just don't like you not understanding their languages. So it's too much negativity in that conversation. Instead, if you at least talk a little, be it gibberish, doesn't matter. They're at least understanding what you're trying to say. And they love the fact that you're putting in the effort. That's something I think at least everybody who's a local will feel. Like a person who's not a local trying to talk in local language itself makes them happy.
Yeah.
So that much welcoming we are. So
Hmm.
I think you can put in the effort.
We are actually very welcoming, I guess, because when you book an Uber or something like any Ola or Uber, anything like that, the languages known by the driver are listed over there.
Yes.
So the auto drivers or the ones who drive our cabs and all, they are very open to learning all languages. They know many languages.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
I think people who are moving from like state to state for work, it's not very difficult.
I think
for them to
companies
learn.
should, like you said, companies
Mhm.
should learn from the locals
Yeah.
to do business.
Yeah,
That's how they learn more languages than is required. Even though they are in the state, they are not multinational companies that they're moving around and all.
yeah.
They're just in the state and they still make the effort to learn more
Learn more
True.
languages.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think these days in autos, I really like that initiative where they have like a card and then they say the basic words in Kannada,
Mm.
just like the stop, how much is it, just
Yeah.
those basic things.
It's listed.
I think that's a very nice thing, because especially in Bangalore, there are a lot of non-local people who use the auto, obviously, and it's very helpful. That's something that was really nice,
Yeah.
and that's something so simple, but that has a huge impact.
In schools, schools is where you can
Mm.
start to influence a child. You have a subject about that particular state, wherever that school is. Have a subject about that state. There's no need to have any exam or something like that. just explain about the culture in the state, the languages,
Yeah.
and everything. Because I am from Karnataka, we know only about Kannada, but we know nothing about Kurgis, Tulu, Konkani. We don't really know much about their origin, the culture, and everything. It's very less, and it's very limited to their people.
Community.
So, but they're still part of Karnataka, and it's important that if we are in that state, we know a lot about it. So, if schools can bring in that sort of a system where about each state, even if I were to go to some other state, maybe Andhra or Tamil Nadu, if I should know about that state, what is happening there, that would be a good thing. Like how Sanskrit, which was one of the most prominent languages in India, has actually faded away because we didn't try to conserve it. There's so much, all these Vedas, Upanishads, everything is written in Sanskrit, and it holds so much knowledge, but we cannot understand it because we are not taught Sanskrit. And the same will happen in the future.
That'll again go to another angle. People think only Brahmins should know Sanskrit or only
That's the
Brahmins.
problem, no?
That's what
It started it was for them, we agree. But now it's open for all.
Yeah.
Why don't we learn the language and learn it itself? I think when you spoke about the subject and all of that, they should get an Arthashastra, all these as a subject for people to know. And it's not a religious book. We are not asking anybody to read Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, or the Bible. That's up to you. You believe in the religion, read it. It's mythology and all of that. We are not to talk about it. But Arthashastra and all of them, they are they're pure economics. It is pure economics. That is something that you should know.
I think like in Gurukuls there were like all kinds of people who learned Sanskrit at one point of time. But after that it became limited to one community and then it stayed there. But now there are many people like many YouTubers and many people who know Sanskrit. They are making apps and courses of like an app where you can learn Sanskrit just like Duolingo. You can learn Sanskrit in an app called Language Curry or something, I guess. And there are many courses made by them. Like you can pay a minimum amount, like maybe 150 or 199 or something, and you can learn Sanskrit from a guru itself. So there are many initiatives, but it's not so widespread. Like for example, we don't know Sanskrit, so it's not that popular. So that I think it should be made popular some way.
People are taking initiatives. Like in Cubbon Park, there's a group that meets every Sunday and they talk, like they converse in Sanskrit. That's a way of preserving the the language. So the awareness is spreading. I hope more. I don't think more languages should reach that point where we should put in efforts to conserve it. I hope it's just maintained
Yeah.
or it grows. People get more awareness about it.
And if you like our content, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel and show